Let me tell you a story. There is a small town on the outskirts of a slightly larger town. The people there call it a city. This is where I live. I live in a big house with a lot of land, though my favorite place to go has always been the forest. I love the big trees and the dense buses, and the whole of the animals at night. In a small clearing in the midst of the woods, and bordered by a field, stand a lone cabin. This was my clubhouse, my base of operation, my castle, my home away from home. I loved it. I decorated it and called it my own. My favorite times were when I could spend the night out there. My friends and I telling ghost stories and squealing late into the night. I didn't always stay out with a friend though. The woods were my home. I loved them. I was never afraid. I would pack up my sleeping bag and march proudly down the trails with my little lanterns until I came upon my cabin. I would unlock the door with my special skeleton key and set up my bag on the cot my mom had given me. I did this one night, one clear summer's night. I settled in per usual and listened to the sound of nature, the chirps of cricket and whoops of owls my lullaby, soothing me to sleep. I don't know when exactly it changed. I only know it was dark. The once abundant noise of the nocturnal forest faded, and the silence was so loud it jolted me awake. The forest only goes quiet for one of two things: a storm or a predator. I glanced up at the window in the wall above my head and saw at once there was no storm. The moon and stars shone down on me like a million diamonds, illuminating the black velvet of the night sky above the clearing. I figured there must be a predator, some wolf or cougar, on the prowl. The window was locked and the door barred. No matter what creature may be out there, I was safe. I snuggled back in and rolled to face the room, back against the wall. I began to drift back to sleep, reassured by my logic and the security of my little abode. A soft groan came next to my ear, clearly heard through the paper-thin wooden walls of my cabin. My eyes shot open, and I lay perfectly still as a subtle sniffing followed the ground. I squeezed my eyes shut and held my breath, hoping the creature would go away before making an attempt to break into my cabin. I smelled like prey and was on ground level. Of course, it would attempt to pursue me. I only hoped it wouldn't hurt itself trying to break through the walls. My hope was misplaced though. The sniffing stopped. I waited a few moments and sighed. It had left. But something else was wrong. The light. The moon had cast a light through the small window above me. But that light was gone. Not completely though. There was enough left to show the silhouette of a head and shoulder blocking the window. I rolled onto my back as quietly as I could and looked up. There was indeed something in the window. Something for which I have no words. I stopped moving, paralyzed. Mouth open in a mock scream. When it turned, it cast its head downwards and its eyes, those awful, soulless red eyes, looked into mine, peering into the depth of my soul. That is when I screamed, loud and shrill, a cry for help, mercy, help. And that is when it moved, faster than the eye can follow. The cabin, my safe haven, crashed in on me. The world went black. Now let me tell you another story. There is a small town on the outskirts of a slightly larger town. The people there call it a city. This is where I lived. I live in a big house with a lot of land, though my favorite place to go has always been the forest. I love the big trees, and the dense bushes, and the whole of the animals at night. The big house no longer exists, replaced by a worn-out shell comprised of a few sorry crumbling walls. The woods are still there though, and the fields too, though now overgrown and unkept. In a small clearing in the midst of these wild woods stands a lone cabin. Many a story are told about this cabin and about the things that happened there. All those years ago. What exactly happened though? Nobody knows for sure. Some say it was a madman, escaped from a nearby prison. Others say it was a case of a child abuse. Others still say it was an accident or an attack from a rabid animal. These are among the prominent logical theories. Hidden among these, though, mostly popular with the kids, are other theories. Supernatural theories. These theories range from demon to werewolf, but the major theme is curiosity. All their lives, children are told to stay out of those overgrown woods, but children never do as they are told. They are told that there is no cabin there, that the tales of the supernatural are wives' tales. The children have a different idea though. The cabin, they say, still stands, and whatever was there that night still lurks inside that wooden house from hell. This scares the children for a while, but as they grow older and more adventurous, they begin to question it. They dare start. I dare you to spend a night in hell's cabin, and they do. Curious youngsters come every so often. I see them. Their nervous face flushed from the efforts of the trek through weeds and ivy. The look of surprise and suppressed fear on their faces when they see the cabin is there, looming in the middle of the clearing. They usually come in groups, fear suppressing the desire to come alone. These groups stay, scared through the night. Then they leave. I watch, sad that they have come and gone. But some come alone. It is for these brave souls that I wait. I watch as the sun goes down and the crickets chirps, their noise lulling the child to sleep. I watch as the moon rises and the stars twinkle and I leave my hiding spot. The forest goes quiet, and I watch as the silence disturbs the child. I watch through the window, my silhouette cast down onto the floor. I see the child freeze, fighting the urge to look out the small window. Sometimes I have to knock, but they always give in to their curiosity eventually. With a turn of their head and mine, I meet their eyes. The look of confusion, then fear, as my deep, red eyes penetrate deep into their soul, seeing their past, present, and reading their future. I grin, showing my pointed yellow teeth. They open their mouths and scream. The cabin crashed, and the world goes black. I slip away as the sun peeks over the horizon, and I watch as yet another victim is found in the cabin from hell. There was a house on the edge of town, but this was an odd house. I remember it clearly, every single day of walking home from school. I was 8 at the time, and walking to school alone was something that made me feel like a big boy. That house was something I'll never forget. Whenever I walked by, to or from school, I always saw that strange man in the window. He'd just stand there and stare at me, but with a smile that you normally consider friendly. Yet, there was something unsettling about it. There was an old house on the edge of town, but this was an odd house. As days passed, I became more and more uncomfortable walking down that road. Yet, it was the only road I knew, and the one road I was told to follow by my mother every single day. Not a single exception. I tried waking up early and setting off late, yet nothing stopped the man from standing there with his creepy, ominous smile. The darkness behind him clogging his body, making his head seem like a floating apparition. As days and days went on by, something seemed stranger and stranger, creepier and creepier. The most eerie part was that I couldn't even tell what kept changing. There was an old, run-down house on the edge of town, but this was an odd house. Day by day, tormented by the overshadowing presence of his face in that window, I saw the most horrifying sight. That one night, you see, it was winter, so it tended to get darker very early. His face, its face. The first thing I noticed was the smile. The smile had stretched so far it literally went from one ear, stretching all the way to the other, showing a wide, horrifying and creepy smile that I will never forget. Then I noticed the skin of its face had become gray. The skin almost looked like a cloth from down where I was. It looked as if it would be very easy to rip off. I wonder what it would feel like to just rip someone's skin off like that. I rushed home crying to my mother, begging her to never make me go again. There was an old, run-down house, barely standing on the edge of town, but this was the devil's house. When I begged my mother to come with me to school, so she could see this horror and put a stop to it, but it wasn't there. Day by day, we walked the same path, and no matter what, the creature I saw in the window wouldn't be there. As days passed, I began to see the horrific creature everywhere. No matter where I went, its presence chilling me to the very core, filling me with terror. I saw it in the mirrors, in the doors, through the windows, on the dark, switched off computer screen. Constantly tormented, and I cried. Cried to my parents, yet they put it up as nothing but children's wild imagination. Sometimes I awoke crying, sobbing to myself quietly in the night, covering my ears and my eyes closed. I don't know why I was like this. What happened? But I just felt pure fear within me and I was petrified, unable to move. My mind was poisoned by the creature I saw that day, and this occurrence happened more and more often until it was every night. There was a house in the town. I lived in this house. I locked the door, moved my bed, my bookshelf, everything in front of it, to stop them from coming in. My parents, they helped that thing. They make me walk to school because they wish that thing, that demon, to take me. I see it everywhere, but within these pages I write this story over and over. I feel weak. I haven't had food or water in a long time, longer than I can remember. My room is filled with dried vomit and urine. As I sit here, writing this story over and over, my hands are brittle and frail, with nothing but skin and bones. My hand shakes, barely having the strength to hold the pen. I'm safe here, in my room, writing this story over and over. I'm safe here, with my paper, writing this story over and over. I'm safe here, as I await my end, writing this story over and over. There was a house on the edge of town, but this was an old house. I remember it clearly, every single day of walking from school. I was 8 at the time, and walking to school alone was something I felt like a big boy for.